Hi, I'm Bakhtiar Sanova and you are watching ANewz. Let's see the top stories shaping our world. Volodymyr Zelensky rules out ceding Donbas region as the Russians make fresh advance. Trump-Putin summit to be held at Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska. The State Department says Baku and Yerevan's deals with Washington are to unlock the potential of the South Caucasus. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he completely rejects any deal involving giving up territory in Donbas region in return for peace. The firm stance comes as U.S. President Donald Trump prepares for a high-stakes summit with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday, a summit Ukraine wasn't invited to.
Ukraine says it will not cede a single inch of its territory, including Donbas, in exchange for a ceasefire. That's according to President Volodymyr Zelensky, who warned any withdrawal would unblock a clear path for renewed Russian attacks, potentially towards Zaporizhia, Dnipro and Kharkiv. His warning comes just days before the Trump-Putin summit in Alaska on Friday. Talks that Zelensky has been excluded from, stoking fears in Kyiv that President Vladimir Putin is angling to win territory on the table. President Donald Trump has already floated the possibility of some swapping of territories. The idea has also raised alarm not only in Kyiv, but in Europe. Zelensky and European leaders say any settlement must include Ukraine and be backed by concrete security guarantees, not a blank check for land. Ukrainian forces say they still hold about 30% of Donetsk, around 9,000 square kilometers, and views those regions as vital counter-offensive ground. Meanwhile, Russian troops have intensified their summer offensive, advancing near Dobropilya, raising the stakes for Kyiv and amplifying concerns over a push for territorial leverage. Kyiv insists peace without Ukraine is not peace at all, saying the only deal that matters is one forged with Kyiv's active involvement and backed by unbreakable guarantees for Ukrainian sovereignty.
President Zelensky has revealed new figures on battlefield losses between Ukraine and Russia, stating that Russian forces are losing roughly 3 times as many soldiers each day as Ukrainian troops. Our own Fikret Dolkhanov is in Kharkiv with the latest updates.
Standing in Kyiv, President Volodymyr Zelensky has revealed new figures on battlefield losses. Speaking to journalists on Tuesday, he said Russian forces are losing roughly 3 times as many soldiers as Ukraine each day. On 11th of August, according to Zelensky, Russia suffered 968 casualties, 500 killed, 400 wounded and 9 taken prisoner, compared to Ukraine's 340 losses, including 18 dead, 200 wounded and 79 missing. But he stressed that Moscow still holds the numerical advantage, with troop numbers 3-1 in its favor and artillery at a ratio of 1-2.4. On FPV drones, Ukraine maintains a slight edge, 1-1.4, though the president says European funding could push that advantage to as much as 4-1. Later today, Zelensky heads to Berlin for talks with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and to join a video conference with President Trump and European leaders from Germany, Finland, France, the UK, Italy and Poland. The agenda includes military aid and coordination among what officials call the coalition of the willing. Joint statements from Berlin are possible after the meeting scheduled for late afternoon. Fikret Dolkhanov, Elbrus Musaev, Kharkiv, Ukraine, ANewz.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to meet on Friday at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska. This will be their first summit during Trump's second term, focusing on efforts to end the Ukraine-Russian war. The Trump administration has downplayed expectations for a major breakthrough, describing the meeting as a listening exercise. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders stressed that peace must include Ukraine and respect its sovereignty. Ahead of the summit, they will hold a virtual meeting with Trump on Wednesday to reinforce these. Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un have discussed the war in Ukraine ahead of his summit with Trump. During the phone call, Putin praised North Korean troops for their role in repelling a Ukrainian incursion into Russia's Kursk region, highlighting the deepening military cooperation between the two nations. The leaders also discussed their strategic partnership and plans to strengthen ties further. Notably, Putin briefed Kim on his upcoming summit with U.S. President Donald Trump in Alaska later this week. South Korea's former First Lady Kim Kyung-hee has been jailed after court approved her arrest on Tuesday on graft charges. The move makes her the only former First Lady in the country's history to be detained.
South Korea's former First Lady Kim Kyung-hee will spend her first day in jail on Wednesday in a cell much like the one her husband and ex-president Yoon Suk-yeol occupies, as prosecutors pursue the once high-flying couple in a widening criminal probe. She was arrested Tuesday night after a court approved a warrant for her arrest on the grounds that she might destroy evidence amid an ongoing investigation into allegations of bribery, stock fraud and influence peddling. Kim's lawyers have denied the accusations against her and dismissed them as groundless speculation news reports about some of the gifts she allegedly received in return for favours. She apologised for causing concern in the country.
I'm truly sorry that a nobody like me has caused concern to the people. I will cooperate faithfully with the investigation.
She is accused of wearing an expensive Van Cleef necklace at a NATO summit in 2022 and taking 2 Chanel bags and a diamond necklace from a religious group. These items were not declared in the couple's financial records, according to officials. She's also accused of earning around 800 million won, which is more than $500,000, through stock manipulation and unlawfully influencing candidate nominations in the 2022 and 2023 elections. Her husband, former President Yoon Suk-yeol, is on trial for a failed attempt to impose martial law in December 2022 and faces other charges. He denies wrongdoing and has not attended court hearings. This is the first time a former First Lady has been jailed alongside a former president in South Korea.
Former Israeli Air Force pilots and activists protested in Tel Aviv yesterday, demanding an end to the war in Gaza and the release of all the remaining hostages. In a separate rally, demonstrators targeted an aid group they accuse of worsening Gaza's hunger crisis.
Protests continue in Israel over the war in Gaza, but this time there were hundreds of former Israeli Air Force pilots and reservists who rallied outside the military headquarters in Tel Aviv on Tuesday. They're calling for an immediate end to the conflict and the release of the hostages. The demonstration comes after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced his plan to take control of Gaza City. The protesters urged Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir to oppose expanding the operations, warning it would endanger hostages and civilians.
We would support and encourage the Chief of Staff in his objection to the expansion of the Gaza war, which will serve no goal of security for Israel, will risk the death of the hostages, of Israeli soldiers, of many more innocent Palestinians in Gaza, and will reach no strategic goal for Israel.
We are calling the government to bring back all the hostages, even if it means to stop the war. Immediately, first of all, to bring back the hostages back to Israel, alive, as soon as possible. The time is running out now.
Separately, demonstrators were outside a Tel Aviv hotel where the staff at the American Gaza Humanitarian Foundation are said to be staying. Protesters accuse the organization of worsening Gaza's hunger crisis.
We oppose every action that the Gaza Humanitarian Fund are doing. They must close now. Aid must flow to the 400 points that are existing with UNRWA and all the other agencies that are ready to do their work, so the food comes to everybody, not only young men that are prepared to walk for 8 miles, sleep outdoor and run like madmen to catch, a few things that are almost nothing, to help their families survive.
The UN has refused to work with the foundation, citing neutrality concerns and alleging that its operations militarize aid distribution. The protests come as Israeli forces continued bombardments in eastern Gaza City, killing at least 11 people overnight, according to witnesses and medics. Meanwhile, in Cairo, Hamas leader Khalil al-Hayya arrived for talks aimed at reviving a US-backed ceasefire plan after negotiations in Qatar stalled in late July.
Negotiations over a potential partial ceasefire and hostage deal in Gaza appear to be gaining fresh traction. Egypt, Qatar and the United States are spearheading renewed mediation efforts, with Israel weighing whether to send negotiators to Doha in the coming days. But questions remain, particularly about Hamas's position and the long-term governance of Gaza once the fighting ends. To help us unpack the latest developments and their wider geopolitical implications, we are joined by Andrei Schwartz, a geopolitical analyst joining us from Sofia, Bulgaria. Mr. Schwartz, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure being with you.
Thanks. Mr. Schwartz, Egypt says it's working closely with Qatar and the United States to revive plans for a 60-day truce and hostage agreement. Given the current realities on the ground, how realistic is that time frame?
It all depends on Hamas. We have to remember, you've shown images earlier to your viewers of the destruction in Gaza. You've shown also how divided Israeli society is and how a vibrant democracy such as Israel was brought to this point exactly by Hamas in a strategic way on October the 7th via the massive pogrom that they carried out then, and also by kidnapping Israelis together with foreigners who were guests in Israel. So Hamas is not a reliable partner and not a logical actor that would play out, these negotiations in a way which would make sense to folks in Azerbaijan or around the world. In a normal fashion towards rebuilding Gaza. If the scope, if the aim of Hamas was to make the lives of Palestinians better, they wouldn't have launched the massacres on October 7th against a massively more strong adversary, which is Israel.
Mr. Schwartz,
what they have, yes, please.
The U.S. ambassador to Israel noted that Hamas showed interest in resuming talks after Israel expanded its military operations. Does this indicate that the military pressure strategy is having its intended effect?
Yes and no. I believe that, yes, the only way to break a terrorist organization, in this case Hamas, is via military pressure. On the other hand, you need a denazification of society. Gaza, after 2005, when Israel completely withdrew all Jewish citizens, civilian and military, from Gaza, was a de facto Palestinian state. But it was radicalized. Children from the moment they were born, they were taken through a radicalization process in nursery schools, in schools, and then Hamas used them as fodder against Israel for their political goals and for their radicalization goals and perversion of religious aspects. So, yes, the way to defeat Hamas is by military pressure, and the way to help the people in Gaza now and in the future is via helping them de-radicalize, via helping them understand that they need to build lives for themselves and their families instead of aiming to kill Jews, kill Israelis at the cost of their lives and the lives of their families, potentially.
So looking at the broader regional picture, what role do you see Egypt and Qatar playing from if an agreement is reached, particularly in ensuring its implementation?
I believe that Saudi Arabia primarily, together with Egypt and other Muslim Sunni nations in the region, can play a very constructive role going forward. They could help rebuild Gaza, they could help de-radicalize the society, as I was trying to explain earlier.
Yes.
And it would be done via Muslim states which understand the cultural sensibilities, etc. The role of Qatar, I'm very doubtful about it, because Qatar is the one which has helped finance Hamas, and they have also radicalized, together with Hamas, the society in Gaza, and together with Iran, all for political gain and for matters of, again, perversion of religion towards destroying society and destroying human life instead of building it. You can use any ideology, including religious ideology, to better society and to better human life, individually and as a society. And this is what we should all do, regardless of, religion, of nationality, etc. So, yes, I believe Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Egypt, to a certain extent, certainly can have a positive role in the rebuilding and de-radicalization of Gaza going forward.
So, Andrei Schwartz, thank you for sharing your insights and helping us navigate these complex and fast-moving developments. Typhoon Podul has struck Taiwan's southeastern coast, forcing more than 5,500 people to evacuate from area and prompting schools and workplaces to close. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled as the storm moves toward the island's more densely populated western coast.
With winds of up to 191 kilometers per hour, Typhoon Podul has slammed into Taiwan's southeastern coast, bringing heavy rain on Wednesday. The storm made landfall near Taitung City around 1 p.m. local time, causing disruptions across southern and eastern parts of the island. Authorities evacuated more than 5,500 people from their homes, suspended work and school in 9 cities and counties, including Kaohsiung and Tainan. Hundreds of flights were cancelled, including 252 domestic and 129 international departures, as airlines halted operations. Podul is expected to move toward Taiwan's more densely populated western coast before continuing into the Taiwan Strait and southern China's Fujian province later this week. Taiwan regularly faces typhoons along its mountainous east coast, and authorities are also assisting residents still recovering from a July storm that damaged homes and the electricity grid.
The U.S. State Department welcomes the historic initialing of a peace declaration between Armenia and Azerbaijan facilitated at the White House on the 8th of August. U.S. State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce stressed that the declaration signed by the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia is very important for the American President Donald Trump. She emphasized that bilateral agreements signed by 2 leaders with the United States unlocks the great potential of the South Caucasus region in trade, transit, energy, and infrastructure. Tehran will host the 7th Caspian States Summit in August 2026. Iranian ambassador to Turkmenistan Ali Mojtaba Rozbehani confirmed. The event will coincide with International Caspian Sea Day and the 20th anniversary of the Tehran Convention. The summit will gather the presidents of Iran, Azerbaijan, Russia, Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan to discuss regional cooperation, environmental protection, maritime security and the legal status of the Caspian Sea. Rozbehani said Iran will also also hold the first international meeting of governors from Caspian Sea coastal provinces in 2025. The meeting will focus on dialogue, sharing experience, cross-border cooperation, and joint projects. He added that invitations and the program for the governors' meeting will be sent to all Caspian countries soon. To discuss the significance of the upcoming summit and its potential implications for the region, we are joined by Dr. Nurbolat Nushambayev from Turan University in Almaty, Kazakhstan. Mr. Nushambayev, welcome to the program.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Dr. Nushambayev, what key issues do you expect to dominate the agenda at the 2026 Caspian States Summit in Tehran?
Definitely, Iran's role in Caspian Sea region are expanding. For Iran, the Caspian Sea, the South Caucasus, and the Central Asian states are becoming very strategically important in terms of logistics and security issues. I think upcoming summit will take into consideration the strategic aspect of the Caspian Sea to use it among the member states of these organizations, in particular Caspian coastal region states. So therefore, I think Iran's role for this summit is rising because of geopolitical changes in the last few weeks.
So how important is the symbolic overlap between the summit and the 20th anniversary of the Tehran Convention?
That's symbolically important, I would say, because if you look at the history in the last few years, we have seen some passive foreign policy from Tehran. Tehran was quite busy with Middle East, with Palestine, and with other Middle East foreign policy. Caspian Sea agenda on the second place. Now, the Tehran Convention and the role of Iran on Caspian Sea regarding the West and the presence of United States in the region are rising Iran's interest towards the region in general.
So how might current regional geopolitical dynamics, including Russia's posture, energy politics, and external influence, shape the tone of discussions?
Definitely, we have to take into consideration this announcement this week, which next year will be summit. So it's very important how the China Iran's vision on Caspian Sea, because in the last few years, Chinese role in Middle Corridor is rising in this region. So therefore, I think Iran's aspect for this region is riding several external players, including USA, within the Kazakhstani project and many other aspects, also China. So therefore, Iran is trying to reconsider the role of the Caspian Sea in terms of not only logistics, but in international security as well.
Dr. Nurbolat Nushambayev, thank you very much for talking to ANewz. We truly appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Turkey is making a major investment in Kyrgyzstan's energy sector, funding the construction of 2 new hydroelectric power plants that are expected to transform the regional energy landscape and boost electricity exports. More details from the region from our correspondent Fariza Kalimurzana.
A Turkish company is investing $10 billion in the construction of 2 hydroelectric power plants in Kyrgyzstan. This is one of the largest energy agreements the country has signed in recent years. According to Turkish media, a subsidiary of Ihlas Holding, the Central Asian Investment Holding, has reached a deal with Kyrgyzstan's Ministry of Energy to build and operate the plants under a 20-year concession. The project includes the Kazarman and Kokomerim hydropower stations with installed capacities of 912 and 1,305 megawatts. Once completed, they are expected to significantly impact the energy landscape across Central Asia. The deal includes social and development initiatives. 1% of the electricity generated, valued at around $3 million annually, will be provided free of charge to local communities. Government agencies will also receive technical and educational support valued at $3.2 million each year. Kyrgyzstan's Energy Minister Talabek Ibraev called this project a new chapter in the country's energy development. He said the new hydropower plants will make Kyrgyzstan a key link in regional energy corridors connecting China, Pakistan, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. They will also enable electricity exports to Europe through Turkey as part of Middle Corridor and the Belt and Road Initiative. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurzina, ANewz.
Turkey and Georgia are set to expand their trade relations and strengthen cooperation. It's after Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Georgian President Mikhail Kavalashvili met in Ankara on Tuesday. They discussed regional cooperation, Middle Corridor projects and the defense industry and peace processes.
Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Tuesday welcomed Georgian President Mikhail Kavalashvili with an official ceremony in Ankara. The two leaders held bilateral talks followed by a joint press conference. Their talks covered regional cooperation, economic ties, defence industry, Black Sea security, the peace process in the Caucasus, the war in Ukraine, and the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Describing the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway as the backbone of the Middle Corridor, Erdogan emphasised the importance of its full-capacity operation. He said that bilateral trade volume has already surpassed $3 billion, with the next target set at $5 billion. The president also underlined that cooperation in the defence industry and military sphere remains a key priority. The Turkish leader also stressed that trilateral cooperation between Azerbaijan, Georgia and Turkey makes a significant contribution to regional peace. Kavalashvili also praised Turkey's role in promoting peace in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war. He said he had invited President Erdogan to Georgia and expressed hope to convene the next meeting of the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council in the near future. The Georgian president reaffirmed his country's commitment to actively supporting Azerbaijan-Armenia peace talks, calling the trilateral mechanism a model for regional security. Kavalashvili said that Turkey is Georgia's #1 trading partner and said the two leaders discussed developing trade relations to expand their export opportunities and explore the potential benefits of free trade agreements. He also highlighted the contribution of the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan oil pipeline and the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway to political cooperation. President Kavalashvili is in Turkey for a 2-day official visit, his first to the country since he took office in December of last year.
Wildfires have swept through Turkey's Izmir province, sending thick smoke and flames over the city on Tuesday. Emergency aircraft flew over the Bucha district to help firefighters contain the blaze. In the northwest, more than 2,000 people were evacuated from Çanakkale after fires spread near the tourist village of Güzelyali, with dozens treated for smoke inhalation. Over 760 firefighters backed by planes, helicopters and hundreds of vehicles were deployed. Turkey's heat wave comes as blazes also burn across Spain, Portugal, Greece and the Balkans, with temperatures soaring above 40 degrees Celsius in parts of Europe. Officials say the country has just recorded its hottest July in more than half a century. Afghanistan and Kyrgyzstan are taking another step towards strengthening economic ties. A high-level Afghan delegation led by Acting Minister of Industry and Commerce is in Bishkek to participate in the Kyrgyzstan Economic Forum. Our correspondent Tamim Bahis has more details from Kabul.
The delegation is expected to hold a series of bilateral meetings and deliver a speech during a special session of the forum. Officials say the trip is aimed at boosting trade, improving transit routes and building long-term economic partnerships. Since 2021, relations between Afghanistan and Kyrgyzstan have been warming. Kyrgyzstan has formally handed over the Afghan embassy in Bishkek to Kabul's new authorities and removed the Taliban from its list of banned terrorist organizations, moves seen as steps toward normalizing diplomatic engagement. Trade between the two countries has surged. In 2024 alone, total trade reached $66 million, with Kyrgyzstan exporting goods such as flour, fuel and electronics, and importing Afghan products worth millions. The two nations are also partners in the Gaza 1000 energy project, set to deliver surplus hydroelectric power from Central Asia to Afghanistan and Pakistan by 2025. And with a newly formed joint working group, both sides are eyeing expanded cooperation on road projects and transit corridors. Bishkek Forum could mark a milestone in Afghanistan's economic diplomacy, transforming regional ties from political hesitation to pragmatic partnerships. This is Tamim Bahis in Kabul for ANewz.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to ANewz for more.